The flight attendants had just finished the safety demo when Jake Carson leaned back into seat 12F, tugging the thin airline blanket over his daughter's lap. She was 8 years old, curled up with a coloring book, and already dozing against his shoulder. To everyone else on that packed red-eye flight, Jake was just another tired single dad trying to keep it together. His shirt was wrinkled, his eyes heavy, and there was a weariness in the way he carried himself, like life had thrown more at him than most people could imagine. The businessman beside him barely looked up from his laptop. The young couple across the aisle only smiled politely before slipping in earbuds. To the world, Jake was invisible, and that was fine by him. But the truth was, Jake Carson was far from ordinary. As the plane cruised through the night sky, an unexpected announcement came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've just received word from air traffic control. We'll be joined by a pair of F-22 Raptors for escort during part of our route. Nothing to worry about, it's routine." Heads turned, windows filled with eager faces, and passengers pressed against the glass, trying to catch a glimpse of the sleek jets that suddenly appeared in formation beside the plane. Gasps filled the cabin. Someone even cheered. Jake, however, froze. He recognized the tail markings. He knew those pilots. His daughter stirred, whispering sleepily, "Daddy, are those your planes?" Before he could answer, a flight attendant tapped his shoulder. "Sir," the cockpit crew asked if you could step forward for a moment. Confused passengers watched as the single dad from 12F, rumpled hoodie, scuffed sneakers, child in tow, was quietly escorted up front. The captain greeted him at the door with a knowing smile. "Colonel Carson, or should I say Valkyrie?" Every pilot in the cockpit straightened. The intercom crackled, and a voice from one of the Raptors outside filled the cabin speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're flying tonight with a legend on board. Call sign Valkyrie. We owe this man our lives." The cabin erupted in whispers. People craned their necks, staring at the man they'd ignored minutes ago. Jake shifted uncomfortably, holding his daughter's small hand. He hadn't heard that call sign in years. Memories flooded back. Nights in the desert sky, missions that had saved more than just fellow pilots. He'd walked away from it all after his wife passed, trading medals for bedtime stories, uniforms for PTA meetings. His only mission now was raising his little girl. One of the F-22s dipped its wings outside the window, a gesture of respect. The pilots, unseen but very real, were standing at attention in their own way, high above the earth. Jake's daughter looked up at him with wide, shining eyes. "Daddy, they're saluting you." His throat tightened. He had nothing to prove, nothing left to chase. Yet in that moment he realized something. His daughter had never truly seen who he had been before. She only knew him as Dad, but now she saw both the protector of skies and the protector of her world. The businessman, who hadn't looked up from his laptop earlier, slowly rose and clapped. Others followed. Within seconds, the entire cabin was on their feet, applauding, not just for the soldier he had been, but for the father he had become. Jake didn't make a speech. He didn't want the glory. He only knelt beside his daughter, brushing a lock of hair from her face and whispering, "This is why I chose you over everything else. You're my mission now." The applause faded into a reverent silence, passengers wiping at their eyes, humbled by the reminder that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they sit quietly in seat 12F, carrying juice boxes and coloring books, their bravery hidden in plain sight. When the plane landed hours later, Jake slipped into the crowd like nothing had happened. No medals, no fanfare, just a single dad with his little girl, proving that true honor isn't in being saluted, but in choosing love over legacy, family over fame. And as they walked hand in hand into the morning light, passengers whispered to one another, changed in some small but permanent way, because kindness, courage, and sacrifice aren't just found in history books or military call signs. Sometimes they're seated right beside us, quietly living lives that inspire the world when we finally take the time to notice. Message: the greatest heroes are often the most ordinary, looking people, choosing love, humility, and compassion every single day.